Hello, fellow night owls, and welcome to my new vlog series where sporadically I'll be uploading just videos of me playing games and ranting about different things that I've thought about throughout gaming. Today we are going to be talking about raiding, how I got my start in raiding, what my goals were, how far I get, and the truth about raiding and the way I see it. I've done all forms of raiding. I've played since Classic, but didn't actually reach max level until Wrath of the Lich King. I played very casually. I was very young when the game came out, so I didn't have my own computer. I wasn't able to pay my subscription myself, so I was kind of just stuck with the occasional time where I could get the 2-month prepaid cards, and when my brother actually let me use his computer. So it wasn't until Wrath of the Lich King where I got a really bad laptop where I was actually able to play, and I actually did pretty well on it. I got very early into raiding. I actually leveled up super fast. Was able to make a Death Knight, but I eventually stuck on Warlock. Basically, back in Classic, I did the thing where I leveled basically everything to level 10. I got a Paladin to about level 20, and then I kind of stuck with Warlock after that, and basically since Burning Crusade, that's always been my main, and I've always been a one-character kind of guy. I've always just played one character. I don't really play alts. Like, I level things to max level, but that's about it. They're mainly used for professions or other stuff, so I don't really do any content on anything higher than just my Warlock. The first expansion where I actually tried raiding was Wrath of the Lich King. Just a lot of normal stuff. I think it was just the Trial of the Crusader and ICC. And then I played a bunch in Cataclysm, did a bunch of the raids. I quit after Firelands. I did a tiny bit of Heroic, but it wasn't anything too major. I was still in high school at the time, so I didn't have the time or honestly the knowledge to really raid at a higher level. So I just kind of stuck with what I had there. It wasn't actually until BFA, where I actually really liked BFA. I know, hot take. I actually really liked BFA. When it launched, I played for an incredible amount of time. It launched, I played for 31 hours straight. I slept for 4 hours, woke up, played for another 12 hours. So I no-life BFA like nobody's business. I played aggressively in BFA until I did the mini raid. I got AOTC in that, and then that was it. I did a little bit of Mythic raiding, not too much though. I got like the first 2 bosses of Uldir, the first 4, we killed Opulence in Dazara lore, and then I got AOTC in the mini raid, and that was kind of it. I quit after that because, you know, obviously burnout when you no-life a game that long, it's a little much. And in general, the old gods aren't enemies that I really care about, honestly. Like, I don't get excited when I say that. Like, they're just not exciting villains in my eyes. Where the heck is auto loot? Okay. Where the heck's my map? Do I not have a mini map? Or is that not a thing for me yet? Anyway, rambling. But it wasn't until Shadowlands, so I came into Shadowlands. Oh, there's my mini map. I came into Shadowlands and I had one goal, and one goal only, to get Cutting Edge. That was my goal. That's all I wanted. I told my best friend that. The only thing I wanted was to get a Cutting Edge. So, how did I achieve that? 1, I had my old guild that actually moved to a busier server, Stormrage, to start Mythic raiding. So I'm like, alright, sweet, I can rejoin with them. We're all good. So I got there, joined them, but the problem was, it was that standard thing that a lot of guilds do, where they just keep re-clearing Heroic for like one item. So you end up basically clearing the entire raid on Heroic, spending an hour and a half doing it. Nobody got gear, because everyone wants to be like perfect going in. So I ended up pugging the first 2 bosses actually on Mythic, when our guild hadn't even done Mythic yet. And then for Nathgri, I ended up joining another guild, which was led by this guy who had gotten multiple Cutting Edges, and his brother, actually. And they weren't afraid to, like, call each other out on shit. So it was actually a really cool dynamic. When usually if you have family members or, like, siblings or spouses together, it gets really bad because they kind of just cover it for each other's weaknesses, and it hurts the guild. But not these two. They were very open with calling out each other and other people in the guild. So I actually had a great position in that guild. I was there as the top Warlock there, so I was just piss chilling, hanging out, vibing with Warlock, and then eventually they wanted an officer. So, you know, I like being an officer. I joined and it was the easiest gig I have ever had in my life. I didn't have to talk in raid chat. I just showed up and got loot. I killed bosses, got loot. The first, and I got full repairs as well. I didn't have to repair anything. So it was a pretty sweet gig. The only thing I had to do eventually was the boss with all the blood stuff, where you had to empty the vessels and stuff. I actually raid led that one for a Mythic kill. So we go into Mythic. The patch for Nathria ended, I think, at the end of March, and we were formed in the halfway through January. So we were actually a very, very late forming guild, and we ended up clearing everything. We got Council of Blood down in about a month. So we actually hard cleared this, and this was all people seeing this for the noontime. So I had to clear. I don't have the dungeon journal. I love this game. So I was able to clear. We got Council of Blood. We got that, and then we hit the roster boss where nobody was able to really come anymore. So the guild stopped raiding, but we're like, yo, we'll be back next tier. We're all good. Well, next tier rolls around a day before it launches. Guess what? The guild says they're going classic only, so it's a day before the raid launches, and I'm left without a guild. So thankfully, I'm able to join my old guild, who merged with another guild, so they're actually doing Mythic. I go in there, we work our way through Sanctum of Domination. I joined right as they were starting Painsmith, amazing boss. I show up, we kill Painsmith, we kill all the other bosses, we get to Sylvanas. Now, Sylvanas was an adventure. Why was it an adventure? 600 pulls, that's what. And doing 600 pulls on a boss that has a 10-minute raid fight is actually rough. It's not a good time, honestly. But we did eventually get it down, and just something about that was, it's wild a full year later being able to accomplish something that you wanted to accomplish a year before. And I worked hard at it. Like, I was researching every fight. I'd never done proper Mythic raiding before this expansion, and it was a huge learning experience. I was very excited about it. Okay. I was very excited about it. And then I got that, and I felt like I was done at that point. Because I achieved what I wanted to achieve. But then, of course, I got really excited for the next raid. Okay. I got excited for the next raid. So I ended up doing that one. That one was weird because we actually ended up killing Sylvanas. Like, I think we killed her on the Monday, and the new patch launched the next day. So I think we were like the 4th last guild or something to kill it in the world, or in North America. It was actually a disaster. So we got through that. We actually did really well, I think, because we had so much momentum going on. So we ended up getting up to Lehivum, and then we hit a giant wall where we had a couple people leave. I knew the fight, but a lot of people were just phoning it in. It was struggling, so I ended up joining another guild. We ended up getting Jailer down like 2 weeks before resets for the next for Season 4. And then I actually decided to quit raiding at that point. So I quit. I didn't do Fated. I did like the heroic stuff, just get the achievements and the amount, and that was it. I came back in Dragonflight with full expectations to not raid anymore. I didn't want to raid. It was over. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. But then about halfway through, about 2 weeks into Mythic releasing for Vault of the Incarnates, I just wanted to raid. And I got the itch back. I was able to join a guild. They ended up falling apart a little after Kurok, so I had 3 bosses left to go. And I had to find a guild with a month left to go to kill the last 3 bosses. And if anyone's done Mythic raiding, you have to know that it is very hard to find a Mythic guild that is on track to get cutting edge, that is willing to accept people with a month left. Because a lot of people have their rosters locked in. They don't want to, like, deny somebody cutting edge because they found someone new. So it was also playing a warlock. A lot of guilds have warlocks, and weirdly enough, a lot of guilds have officers that are warlocks. Officers are mostly warlocks for my scene. I don't know what it is. So that's another hard part. So, like, there's multiple guilds I joined where there's 3 warlocks, me and 2 others. But the 2 warlocks were both officers, so they were never going to get benched. So the only way I got to see playtime is if it was viable to bring 3 warlocks, which it usually isn't. Anyway, so I join a random guild. We get the next 2 bosses down, everything but Razgeth. It wasn't a good fit, so I didn't join them for Razgeth. Thankfully, I got accepted to another guild. They ended up killing Razageth like 3 days after I got accepted. But I was able to join for the rekill, and I actually topped the meters after. I only did Razageth for 9 pulls, but I ended up topping the meters, so I felt really proud of myself for that. And kind of going in for my last raid, which was this one, Avarice. This one, I have never gone as hard in a video game as I did with Avarice. Avarice was a raid where I knew it was good. I wanted to give a good showing. I wanted to actually do everything I could to min-max everything. I wanted to be the top damage on every single fight. Legit. That was my goal. So I made sure that I was brushed up, because I mainly played Demonology. Last time I really played Affliction was back in Castle Nathria, so like a full 3 years prior. So I knew I needed to shape up on my other one. So I played a lot of Affliction and a lot of Destruction in my early prog throughout like Heroics, Normals, you know, those easy clears. So we get into Mythic, and when I say that I went hard, I'm talking when the patch launched, like the day that Mythic came out, that's when my vacation time started. I booked 2 weeks off just to do that. That way I can have all the time in the world to do my raids, do my professions, do my dungeons. Basically my schedule when Avarice came out was I would start off, the servers launched, and the first thing I did was join Mythic Plus. I did Mythic Plus. I think the servers, my time, launched at like 11 a.m. And I was doing Mythic Plus for 7 hours. I did it right until we were ready to go. I needed to get as much gear as possible. I ended up doing I needed a trinket from a dungeon. I ended up doing it forever. Like, legit, just spam the shit out of it. And then eventually I hit a point where I'm like, I'm not going to farm this anymore, and I paid someone 300,000 gold for when it dropped. Because, you know, who's going to pass up 300,000 gold for an item? Fuck yeah. So, I eventually get in, and I struggled a lot in Heroic, actually. I don't know if it was nerves, but, like, my highest parse across the first, I think, 5 bosses on Heroic was, like, a 30. Like, I don't know what it was. I just struggled, because I only looked up the Mythic guides. I didn't actually look up the Heroic guides, so, like, I was trying to do things that wasn't actually in that. I think anyone that's done Mythic raiding and then gone back to Heroic has experienced this, where you don't actually remember what the Heroic fight is because you're planning for Mythic mechanics, but they never come out because it's Heroic. But then once I got to Mythic, I don't know what changed. I don't know if it was a personality thing, but in the entire time I've played WoW, in the entire like 18 years, the 2-month span in Avarice was the best I'd ever played in my life. Every single boss, I didn't struggle with any bosses. I was ripping like purple parses, orange parses, all this stuff. So why did I quit raiding after that? Well, there's a couple reasons. One thing that a lot of people don't really realize about raiding is, one, it is extremely time consuming if you want to be top of the top. Now, don't get me wrong. You can, and a lot of people do, join Mythic raiding, and they put in the bare minimum, because a lot of people do see Mythic as just Heroic with a different name, right? So you can do that. That's totally fine. But if you actually want to be like, I'm going to try my hardest, I'm going to know every fight, I'm going to be as min-max as possible, it is extremely time consuming, because not only, if you're like, let's say you're in a 3-day guild, you raid 3 hours a day, that's 9 hours right there. Plus you have all the pre-stuff, so let's add on another hour, that's 10 hours a week you have to deal with. And then you have all your Mythic Plus, you have all your professions, you have all your outsider raid stuff, getting ready, watching guides, doing that. So I was probably investing, I'd say at least 30, 40, 50 hours somewhere, like an insane amount, every single day for the first 3 weeks. Every waking moment that I had where I wasn't working or sleeping, I was playing WoW. Which is actually insane when you think about it. It's like, it was basically a second full-time job. Do I love raiding? Do I love progressing? Absolutely. But obviously, when you invest that much time, it has to be worth it. And for me, after getting 4 cutting edges, it really wasn't. And I felt like it was a good time to stop, simply because it was the best I'd ever performed. And the main reason I wanted to come back after the Jailer fight is because the Jailer wasn't a very good fight for me. So I wanted to like come back and prove that I can do it. And also, I hit kind of a crossroads. So usually the guilds I'm in get between rank like 800 and 500, somewhere around there. And the way I performed, I was getting offers from like top 300, top 200 guilds. So I easily could have joined guilds that were like 600 ranks higher. But then I kind of thought, do I want to? Is it worth that time investment? Is it worth potentially getting in a group that I don't like playing with? And that's happened a lot of times where I'm so used to playing by myself where I'm not really excited to play with other people, especially if I feel like they're holding me back. Because there was definitely a lot of fights in Aberrus specifically where I kind of figured out the fight within probably 10 pulls. Like the first phase of Jailer, the first third of the fight, I had that down pat within probably 5 pulls because I watched videos, I watched point of views, I knew all this stuff. It wasn't an issue for me, but there were times where we're 100 pulls in and there's people still messing it up, and you know, it is frustrating, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize with higher level raiding is it's not about are you good enough to raid. Everyone's good enough to raid. Whether it's LFR, normal, heroic, or mythic. Everybody can raid, you just have to find a difficulty that works for you, right? And that's the most important thing. The difficult thing about raiding is finding people where you're acceptable with their skill level and you're acceptable with their skill level and they're acceptable with yours. So you have to kind of find 20 people that are all on the same level because nothing makes people upset more than having to play with people that are way fucking, like, not way worse, but much noticeably worse than them. Because you feel like you're putting in all this work and they're not.
I tried to
Oh my
stop
god,
the ogres on my own.
I thought I turned dialogue off.
My strength was not enough.
Shuja, the Horde is strong, not when we fight alone, but when we stand united. Now,
you know what? We're listening to
tell
it.
me what's happened here.
Okay. On that note, I'm going to turn sound off. Audio. Dude, I turned dialogue off. That's wild. Anyway. But yeah, finding 20 people that are all very similar skill level and are fine playing together, that's the difficult part. Because I know a lot of people that raid in normal guilds that they have a lot of fun because everybody there has the same expectations. They have the same skill level, and it's not an issue for them. So that's what they're happy about. They're cool with that. But that's the thing with Mythic raiding is there is a lot of tension because, you know, there were times where I was very upset with people I raided with because it felt like I'm out here doing all this Mythic Plus, I'm spamming all these things, I'm learning all these fights, and then we get into the fight, and there are people where 100 pulls in, they die to something, and they're like, oh, I didn't know what that did. But it was the first mechanic of the fight, and they'd done it 100 times, but they still didn't know because they didn't look it up. They just kind of went in blind, which some guilds do. A lot of guilds don't really care if you look at guides, and that's fine. But we were a guild where everyone was expected to know what was in, and it was frustrating because there was a lot of fights where I showed up and a lot of people didn't know the fights. I did know the fights. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm perfect or anything like that. It's just I didn't want to keep going in the path of trying to find that group where everyone meshes and you're happy with everyone's skill level. I definitely felt like I accomplished everything I wanted to. And now, maybe I'll go back raiding next expansion. It's a full year away. Who knows? That might happen. But for me, right now, I'm focusing mainly on the more casual side. Getting as many mounts as possible. Getting as many achievements as possible. Like, heck, with this new Emerald Dream area, I went in, and the first thing I did, I got to the zone. I didn't even pick up the first quest. The only thing I did was I did all my Dragon Race achievements, every single one. Every race, all 5 difficulties, and then I realized I had a bunch more to do on the Dragon Isle, so I did those. And then I did the Forbidden Reach, then I did Zeralek Caverns. So I did all these, that's all I cared about, was doing achievements. And meanwhile, everyone else is out here just spamming seeds, and I'm not about that. But I do think there's insane positives to raiding. Do I think that the Mythic raiding rewards are comparable to what they were? No. Mainly because if you spam Mythic Plus, you're going to be on par with a Mythic Raider. And aside from, like, a few exceptional items, like, let's say, Class Trinket, or, like, anything with special effects, those are the only things you really need to raid for. So you can do 99% of your gameplay will be Mythic Plus, whereas if you raid, you have to do more Mythic Plus than you do raiding. You spend at least 8 times the amount of time in Mythic Plus than you do in raiding. So you kind of have to do both, but it's not really better. Like, once you get near the end of the patch, you can't really tell the difference between somebody who Mythic rated the entire patch and somebody who did Mythic Plus. Aside from, like, the very top people, because they'll have literally Biss in every slot. Those people you notice, but, like, your average rank 500 Mythic player, you're not really going to notice that difference. And that was one thing. Another thing is, up until this patch, we had 2 raids in a row where the mount could be gotten on any difficulty, and that was something that I wasn't a huge fan of. Because I do feel like there needs to be something unique to Mythic, and right now, there really isn't. Even the cutting edge achievement is the only thing you'll take away from doing Mythic, because like even the next patch, you can get a 20-man raid and one-shot all the Mythic bosses, because scaling will be insane. So it's not even the general, oh my god, we have the I'm getting the individual Mythic achievements. That won't really mean anything. The gear doesn't carry over. And for me, I'm like, do I really want to spend 50 hours a week for a cutting-edge achievement? Not really. Like, I got 4 in a row. I wanted 1, and I got 4. And I felt like there comes a point, right, where not only do you accomplish your goal, but you get more than you expected. You accomplish more than you thought you could. And let's be honest, when I went into Mythic Plus, this thing is actually giving me the business. When I went into Mythic Plus, I was not expecting whatsoever to... Am I gonna die to this thing? Oh my god. Dude, I'm terrible. Anyway, so when you surpass all those goals, you kind of got to ask yourself, it's like, what's next? Is getting one more achievement of the same thing you've got done 4 times really worth it? And for me, that was just a no. It wasn't something that I want to accomplish right now. I'm still going to do the raid. Like, I'll clear it on normal, I'll clear it on heroic. I'll get AOTC, of course, but that's something I can easily do. But for me, Mythic raiding just isn't something I'm willing to dedicate that much time to unless I really do find that passion again. Like, it's not a skill thing. I do feel like like I said, Avarice was the best I'd ever played. But there just comes a time where it's not worth the time investment. Like, I want to start dating people again. I want to start spending more time with the dogs, spend more time, you know, playing other games and not feeling like, oh, I can't play this game or do this casual content for achievements because I got a Mythic raid. And that's kind of a big thing that popped up is I straight up wasn't able to do like time rifts, dream surges, all these different things because I had to Mythic raid. So like I still haven't even done the Mega Dungeon, and I didn't do that because there was nothing for Warlock. And there was a trinket, but it was bugged, so I didn't even bother. And then by the time it wasn't bugged, people realized it wasn't actually that good. So I missed out on a lot of casual content that I usually love doing, and that's what I played WoW for, is for the casual content. So yeah, that's kind of the story about raiding. Something about Mythic that people don't really talk about is the insane time investment, the pressure that comes with it. Like when you have when you mess up deep, let's say like I'm talking like you're on Sarkareth Mythic. You're 300 pulls in. We didn't have to do that much, but I'm just throwing a number out there. Like you're hundreds of pulls in. You get the boss to like 5% and you mess up. That's a lot of pressure that a lot of people actually can't handle. Because it's not just that you messed up. It's just now you have 19 people looking at you knowing that you're the reason that the boss didn't die. And now they're stuck there because of you. And that is a hard thing to deal with. Absolutely. It's but my advice to anyone listening to this, if you've even gotten this far, and if you have, love you, is that if you're Mythic raiding, be open to realizing that you're gonna make mistakes. Other people are gonna make mistakes, and rather than blaming people or yelling at people, just focus on improvements. Like, what can you do better? What can you do to help them? But just yelling at someone or being annoyed at someone isn't really gonna do anything. And that's something that really helped me, is I kind of stopped worrying about how good other people were, until it got to the point where I felt like my time was being wasted because I was waiting on them because they weren't putting in the effort. But especially early in prog, if someone messes up, just work to help them. And if you can't help them, just look at your game, because I can guarantee unless you're a world first raider, everyone's making a lot of mistakes. Even on some of the fights where I felt like I played damn near perfect. Like I had a parse on Amalgamation Chamber for Demonology, where at the time I was across the entire world when I killed it, I was ranked 7 in the world of all Demonology Warlocks. Like, I absolutely pumped that boss, but, like, I look back and I realize, oh, I missed this, I missed that, I imploded too early here. Like, there were things that were... I made mistakes, so don't go in expecting everyone to play perfect. Just go in and try to be that person that elevates people, that helps people out, so... Because that's actually going to do wonders. When people feel like they're supported and they're comfortable, they actually play way better. Because I can tell you right now, I've seen players that are really good play terrible because people turn around, they start yelling at them, they start telling them, oh, you're fucking this up, this is easy, oh my god, how can you do this? And then they're so stressed about messing up that they just play worse. Like, they miss things they wouldn't do. They don't take risks anymore, so they end up missing out on a bunch of DPS, so... That'd be my advice, just be more supportive than you are critical. If you're going to be critical of yourself. But I am excited for this raid. I'm going to be watching the race. I'm super excited for that. I'm going to be joining splits. I'm going to be doing all that things. Just, I'm going to be enjoying the fact that I can just spam some Mythic Plus. But if anyone's made it this far, huge thank you. Be sure to sub. I will be posting these every time I stay up late and I have something to talk about. I'll save this character for only doing this kind of content so you can kind of follow along with my journey here. We're going to kill this guy and then peace on out. I think they saved me here, actually. I haven't done Exile's Reach in a hot minute. Also, I wanted to play a Goblin, but I didn't want to play the starting zone, because as much as I love the starting zone for Goblins, it is a trek. It is an adventure. But, huge thank you to anyone that made that this far. Use this vlog in the future to, like, zone out while you're falling asleep. Use it as background noise while you're late-night gaming. I do appreciate anyone that made it this far. And even if you tuned out early, maybe you don't even get it this far. Or maybe you just randomly clicked to this spot right here. Well, have a wonderful night. Have a great night, and I will see y'all tomorrow.